What has still not been explained by science? As far as I'm aware, I don't think we have a clear answer on the role, purpose, function of dreaming. How consciousness works. Lots of great ideas, but surprisingly hard to figure out. Dark matter. Dark energy. Most of the universe. Incredible. Basically what triggers all sorts of different neurodegenerative or psychological diseases on a microscopic level. That is, we know what happens in Alzheimer's disease or Parkinson's, aggregation of proteins, death of neurons, related to some genes etc. But we do not know what changes occur on a chemico-physiological level to trigger all this, and therefore we don't know how to counteract it. How Tylenol works. Studies show that when taking Tylenol you are less empathetic. That means you feel other people's pain less. From medicine.com. The exact mechanism of action of acetaminophen is not known. Acetaminophen relieves pain by elevating the pain threshold. That is, by requiring a greater amount of pain to develop before a person feels it. Placebo effect and medical hypnosis. We know they are there. We know they work and are able to use them, but the research to the exact how and why they do isn't completed. Since this exploded a bit overnight. No, I don't believe in magical healing properties nor mind over matter timmy-wimmy stuff. I'm fascinated by the fact that our brain can shape the perception of our surroundings and ourselves to an extent where we have to test against that perception. I myself am, despite not being a psychologist of any kind, in a psychology context, and so I'm confronted from time to time with these things and get a glimpse of what it could matter for us to understand perception in the means of psychological diseases. Hence why I mentioned placebo and hypnosis together and formulated the advancement of the science behind rather vaguely, because I myself am not a scientist in this field and just replicate what my peers reference to me. True extent of space. Mind-boggling what could be out there. 3 big things we don't understand. Sleep. Why does it happen and how does it work? Gravity. Its effects are understood but its nature is not. Oceans. What all is down there and how the various ecosystems work. Why we cry. As far as I know there is no scientific explanation for why droplets of water come out of our eyes when we get sad. What causes mental illness and why medical treatments for it work for some and not for others. We have hypotheses but nothing definitive. Pretty sad, given how many people are affected by it. Deregistered déjà vu. There's a number of various theories of what triggers the feeling of one feeling as though they have experienced something previously, but no definitive explanation. Why we laugh. Not cause something is funny, but what causes she reaction of opening a mouth and having a variety of non-lingual sounds be emitted. An actual, concrete reason for why we sleep. Not a direct clear answer to this question, but this reminds me of the introductory lines of a physics book. More than Aristotle said a bunch of stuff that was wrong. Galileo and Newton fixed things up. Then Einstein broke everything again. Now, we've basically got it all worked out. Except for small stuff, big stuff, hot stuff, cold stuff, heavy stuff, dark stuff, turbulence, and the concept of time. It's some science, a bridge beyond the point of usefulness, which is not a textbook. How wombats mange to its squares. Why JFK's head just did that. How the universe began. I am not talking about evolution. I am talking about what caused the Big Bang. Why time only appears to move in one direction. More than where are they? Fermi. The creation of the universe. I could be wrong about this, but the Big Bang does not seem to explain where the universe came from. All we believe is that there was a small kernel that contained the entirety of matter and then it began to expand. But I cannot think of any way that they'll explain where the kernel came from. Why you can't continue playing music when you close the YouTube app. Why kids love the taste of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Ducking magnets. How do they work? Ball lightning. How did the cameraman hold his breath that long to record Finding Nemo? Tide goes in, tide goes out. Can't explain that. Bill O'Reilly. Anesthesiology. We pretty much go off of approximates based on what has worked in the past. But technically speaking, we don't know WTF is actually going on to make it work. Where the duck does the second sock go when you put a pair in a washing machine? The one that bothers me the most. Why? How did the first life forms develop the drive to survive and procreate? How beavers maintain a mate for life? Why cats purr so peaceful? Autism and why it happens? Why water works? So mathematics, especially that intersection with physics, and especially when things are nonlinear, is weird and really difficult. We have the Navier-Stokes equation which tells us how fluids move. However, even with that we don't really understand it. We know what it does, but we don't know how it works in general, and we don't know any of the important details. 1. No one has figured out yet what dark matter is, though most physicists agree on its aggregate properties. Does not interact with electromagnetism but does produce gravity. 2. Also no one has figured out dark energy yet. Existing quantum field theory gives a value of the cosmological constant that is off by a factor of 10 circumflex 120. 3. How life arose from non-life matter. 4. The largest sofa that can be moved through an L-shaped corridor. 2 things about space blows my mind. 1. The universe is expanding. So expanding into what? What's outside the universe? 2. Time started during the Big Bang. What was there before the Big Bang? What would we see if we could reverse time beyond the Big Bang? Beekeepers and melitologists have no idea what makes a desirable drone congregation area. How do they know where to chill out with other drones? Does a queen know where to go? Related to that, we still don't know if drones from a particular hive will still try to mate with a virgin queen of the same hive, or if a queen will avoid them. Does the queen exercise control over which drones she mates with? Lots of it isn't known about drones or nuptial flights. The tides come in. The tides go out. You can't explain that. Anti-vaxxers. How can people be so stupid to ignore well-researched facts and statistics and believe some bullet mumbo-jumbo from crazy nutbags, and would rather let their children die horribly from an infectious disease rather than having autism? Why is it that you always have to wait forever for that one traffic light that is always green for everybody else but you? How does it know it's you? Why does it hate you? Why? How Up's mom is so fat when she goes camping the bears hide their food. Long story short, the more we learn the less we know. Really anything. We've learned a lot, but behind every well-supported causal chain, there's another. Okay, so why does that happen? There's a whole lot we don't understand about physics. We don't know why any of the fundamental forces exist. Strong nuclear force, electromagnetism, etc. We know how they work, and we can accurately measure how they work, but we don't know why positive things attract negative things, or why the strong nuclear force brings things together, or why gravity brings things together. They just do. We don't know why quantum tunneling works. We just can measure its likelihood of happening. How the universe came to be. The complete origin of matter. We obviously gave theories, but we will never truly know where matter originated from. Abiogenesis. How life began. Kind of a big one. What happens after we die? Top TN quiz tions SCNCSTLC and to ends where. What really happens when anesthesia knocks us out for medical operations? Nothing has been explained by science. Things have been modeled by science. The unknown things have been moved to smaller particles or waves or fields. But like a child, if you ask why endlessly to any scientific explanation, you get to a we don't know. We don't understand how the brain works, how the mind works, how emotion works, how personality works, how mental illness works, how human behavior works. We know some things about the hardware of the brain, but almost nothing about the software. How sensory information is transformed into a reality. We know how sensory organs get information, how that information is sent to the brain, but it's not well understood how all the information is integrated and used to create an experience. Remember, Your brain is basically in a dark room with no windows. It's like someone is sliding notes under a door in that room, and an artist is painting a picture based on the notes. It's pretty amazing actually, but we don't know exactly how that works. How the brain truly works. What happened before the Big Bang, and where all of the energy came from. Here's one thing that I don't think that anyone has said yet. Turbulence. Something seemingly so simple and all around us. No one really bothers to take a deeper look. We know that it is caused by a difference in kinetic energy in parts of a fluid flow, and yet we can only really offer basic predictions and calculations. Richard Feynman even describes it as the most important unsolved problem in classical physics. We do not really know how to predict it, and many hypotheses and calculations have been made. Yet scientists are still working on this seemingly simple problem. Whether time even exists. Genetics. When you dig into it, there is so much left to know. Fascinating though. We all know that gravity from the moon causes tides. Earth's gravity holds us to the surface, and the sun's gravity keeps our planet in orbit. But how much do we really understand it? This powerful force is generated from matter, and more massive objects therefore have a greater ability to attract other objects. While scientists do understand a great deal about how gravity acts, they aren't really sure why it exists. Why are atoms mostly empty space? Why is the force that holds atoms together different from gravity? Is gravity actually a particle? These are answers that we really just can't answer with our current understanding of physics. Are the Phoenix Lights still a mystery? What was that it? Navajo Rangers released their footage of it and it was weird. We still don't know why we sleep. That it keeps me awake at night. Why a kilogram of feather is lighter than a kilogram of lead. Mosquito bites nipple, sucks blood or milk. What's exactly at the bottom of the ocean? Especially the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of the ocean. Scary. Hibernation. How animals who do it basically don't die from losing muscle mass. Why they don't wake up completely atrophied, like humans. The double slit experiment, where electrons passing through parallel slits in a piece of metal will form an interference pattern on the resulting sensory device receiving them. That is until it is observed which slit they travel through, at which point the interference pattern is no more and we are left with two lines, just like the two slits. To my knowledge, we aren't really sure how a bumblebee is able to fly. Edit. Apparently we do. Sorry, Reddit. Why the fuck my pee so hard? Science is a liar sometimes, Osamac. How many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? Why the need to urinate intensifies by 1000 when you're trying to unlock the front door? How material substances like brains produces a conscious experience? How Logan Paul gets his YouTube Red show back after filming a hanging corpse but not PewDiePie who made edgy jokes? How I can have a 50/50 chance of plugging in a USB device in the correct orientation but get it wrong 100% of the time? What happens when we die? Science, religion, philosophy all try but no one knows for sure. How pulling a finger will make your grandfather fart, even if you don't do it fast enough. How JFK's head just did that. When we'll get background video playback in YouTube. Jimi Hendrix's guitar skills. Why is there something instead of nothing? Why the duck do mosquitoes exist? Imagination? I sincerely hope this one human process can never be replicated by machines. Ducking magnets. How do they work? Women. And what exactly we did wrong? Existence itself. The source of the Big Bang, etc. It's more of a philosophical question right now. Even if we found a cause, we would just now be mystified by the cause of the cause. Why I can't get a text back. Abiogenesis. Consciousness. The most foundational property of reality. Theory of everything. Lots. Why kids love the taste of cinnamon toast crunch. Nobody knows why does sleep paralysis occur, and nobody can help people who keep having this problem. Why marijuana is so habit forming. It doesn't seem too addictive by our current understanding of addiction. This will get buried, but most of neuroscience, for example, the function of dreams, the cause of many neurological disorders, the reason behind the topology and encoding of information in many areas, why many drugs seem to help with certain things. Neuroscience is very immature. Not an answer, but just for your information. The more you dig into science, the more you're going to find is there is a astounding amount of stuff you trust with your life and we really don't understand how it works. Like anesthesia, for example. Didn't see this, so hopefully not a repeat. The optimal human diet. Up until recently, sugar was accepted as bad but not terrible. Fat was vilified. Sugar is now being linked to, as far as I know, essentially all of the autoimmune diseases. The accepted amount of sugar in a diet was way too high. There is evidence of big sugar skewing studies that cause the vilifying of fat. Also, the impact of diet and autoimmune diseases. My sister had 2 autoimmune diseases. She had a terrible diet her whole life. Weed, processed foods were a staple. Long story short, doctors kept telling her to eat what made her feel comfortable. She kept getting worse and died before she turned 30. You could also point this at overdosing of narcotics, but her dosage was cut back significantly for about a year before she passed. But the diet thing baffled me and I wish I had pushed her more to eat better when I had a chance. Well, this just got more personal than I anticipated. Basically, we still don't know what the optimum proportion of each food base we need, and we're finally finding out that we should just eat real food even if it's higher in fat. Looking at you 1990s and all the gross fat and sugar alternatives. What the purpose of dreams are. Why anything and not nothing. Origin of the universe. There's only 2 options. It didn't exist. Then it did. It always existed. Either one of those just creates more questions than answers. That Tom Brady was innocent of any wrongdoing in the Deflategate controversy. Ironically, science has explained this, but the general public doesn't get it. How so many kids on Xbox are able to duck my mom.